tonight, along with Aaron and Frosty. We're taking flight, tune in, level up, turn the quest. In the world of action, we're the best. Welcome to the Town Portal Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the official Town Portal Podcast, Episode 6. Yes, we are already on Episode 6. My name is Aaron, the owner and operator of the YouTube channel Action RPG. We have a great show and talk prepared for you today. And with me, as always, is my co-host, my friend, Diablo's #1 superfan. If you got regular superfans here, this person is like off the charts. Mr. Frostylaroo. Hello, sir.
Hello, hello. And thanks, Aaron. You definitely passed the vibe check. All right, fam, we've got a straight up Sigma in the house today. CraterMan, the dude with all the riz behind Dwarven Realms. This ARPG that's been popping off. No cap, he's the GOAT, and we're hyped to have him on the Town Portal. CraterMan, what's good? Hit us with the lowdown. That means introduce yourself.
Thank you, Frosty. I don't believe anyone has ever introduced me like that, and I do appreciate that. Cool. So,
Go ahead. You're good.
yeah, where do I start? Do you want me to tell you about my career, how Dwarven Realms started? Give me a little bit of guidance here, first time.
Who are you? You know, just start with that.
Cool. Yeah, so I think a lot of people know the story here from Dwarven Realms, but I'm going to tell it anyway for anyone that hasn't. We started this journey with my twin brother, Bebo. We have been born in the early 80s. We played a lot of video games growing up in the 90s. Our dad actually was a computer science engineer and brought home the first, XT in the early 90s, so we grew up playing games. And as the internet evolved, obviously we got into online games, and I think while we were playing Diablo 1, someone told us about a game called Ultima Online. We got very into Ultima Online, and then into the MMOs era by EverQuest and Ashron's Call, and all of everything that led into WoW. And obviously, like almost everyone played WoW when we were supposed to be studying in school.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, fell in love with that, obviously. And yeah, I think very early on, when we went to college, we studied computer science as well. I didn't do so well. I actually dropped out. Bebo was an engineering genius who aced like from the top school. So, but we were always building games together throughout our entire childhood. Yeah, and that's sort of the background.
I have a weird question. So I had a couple groups of twins that I was friends with in high school. In one group, they were best friends. The other group, they were mortal enemies. So your twin brother was like your best friend growing up.
I think it was eras.
I see.
When we started high school, I was the bad twin. He was the good twin. We were not friends. Then he became the bad twin in the 20s, and then I was the good one. And then eventually in our 30s, we sort of became very close friends, and now we are both good or both evil, depend who you ask. But we were always friends growing up as well. To some extent.
Oh, nice. That is very, very cool. By the way, Frosty, I tried to work on my intro to match your intro because your intros are so good that I felt like I was kind of not holding up my end of the bargain. Just FYI.
Yeah, I just, I'd make a special one today because CraterMan's first time on camera, so I had to make him feel really comfortable.
Oh, you're supposed to make him feel nervous, like where he gets like he's shaking and something like that. Okay, Crater, first question. Where does the name Crater come from? And obviously, the studio behind Dwarven Realms, published and developed by Crater Studios. Why don't you give us the story of the name, studio, all that good stuff?
Wow, it's a loaded question with a long story, but I'll try to get to the gist of it.
Okay.
Essentially, I I'm actually, both Bebo and I are originally from Israel. If folks don't know that, and I'm not going to get into any politics or anything like that, but I
Appreciate
left
it.
Israel almost 15 years ago.
Okay.
I moved to New York as part of a startup and then moved to the Bay. I lived in Irvine for a while. I worked at Blizzard for a while. I can tell all of those stories, and eventually moved to North Carolina. And throughout our entire life, we were always dreaming of opening a studio it's called the Crater of Ramon. It's a town in southern Israel where we always imagined building a studio in the desert, a gaming studio in the desert. I don't think that's ever gonna happen. I'm probably gonna stay here, but at least the name stuck, and that's how the name Crater Studios sort of came to be.
Okay. Frosty, are you going to let him get away with saying he worked at Blizzard and not ask a follow-up question?
Oh my God, there's so many. Well, first of all, when I heard your name, I kind of thought it was like a villain in a Mega Man game. But that aside, what did you do at Blizzard?
Yeah, maybe I'll get you. Sorry, I can already hear my son and my daughter here banging on the door. I locked it, but I don't know if that will stop them.
It's
also,
okay.
He's going through potty training, so he likes to go around without much clothes on. I'm not sure what the Twitch rules are, but I think it's better he doesn't come in.
Maybe just like put your hand over the camera if he comes in.
We'll do.
Get a hot tub out real quick so it's legal.
Oh, yeah, don't get me started. Cool. So, yeah, I'll give you the rundown on my professional career. I shared with you, I studied computer science in college. I got a job as a database engineer while I was in college, and that's how I got into sort of working in tech. And then I dropped out. I didn't do really well at school, but I did really well at the job to a point where my manager told me, hey, you have an eye for the clients, the customers, the products. You should apply for the product team. I did most of my career as a product management in tech companies, a bunch of different startups that went through growth and then failed. And I was eventually that led me to New York City, where I started my own company back. That was in 12 years ago with Bebo, actually. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a gaming company. It was completely different industry, different time, a consumer app. We didn't reach like the level of scale we needed to raise additional funding, and we had to shut that down. And I think I was going through a midlife crisis at the time, hopefully a quarter of the way through.
Okay.
And I was watching a game of StarCraft 2 on Twitch one evening, and my wife pointed at it and said, why don't you go work on that? You seem to really love your video games. She actually meant Twitch, but I took that a bit more literal. Got in touch with Blizzard, joined Blizzard, moved to Irvine, Southern California. I worked on Battle.net on the platform, so they brought me more to teach the product management discipline and how a gaming companies can actually ship software. So did a bunch of different roles and products over on Battle.net. Didn't work directly on the game, so I wasn't like a game designer or a game producer or anything like that.
Damn it, I thought you were going to say you worked on StarCraft 2.
Yeah. I love that game.
I got to work on all of the games because as part of the platform there, we also shipped what at the time were sister studio games like Call of Duty Warzone. I even got to onboard Destiny 2 and offboard Destiny 2 of Battle.net. So got to work on a lot of different cool stuff there. And then I'll talk a little bit more about Blizzard if you guys are interested. But after that, I actually got a really cool job at the Bay. It was at the time a secret project led by a company named Apple. It was in their AR VR. Today it's known as a Vision Pro. So I was one of the first product managers there. Then I got an offer to join Meta, at the time Facebook. Worked a little bit on Oculus on
another indie company.
Yeah, another tiny tech company. And the Horizon World app, which was, I think, Zuckerberg's vision for the metaverse. It was sort of like a Roblox, an engine in VR where you create experiences. So got to do that for a while and realized I'm a bit too old for AR and VR. I was getting seasick all the time.
Dude, Frosty, our lives are so boring compared. I can't.
Yeah.
Like
I sneezed and I hurt my throat the other day.
Sorry, go on. I derailed you. I was just thinking about my own life as you're explaining yours. Sorry, go on.
No, no worries at all. I also hurt my throat the other, so I can relate. Then after my time at Meta, again, realized that it's not for me. I'm looking for more of a traditional gaming role. I got in touch with Epic Games, moved out to Cary, North Carolina, worked at Epic for a while on their creator marketplaces and some aspects of UEFN. And yeah, and throughout all of my career, Bebo and I always made games for fun and nights and weekends. And after I took a break from Epic, I was talking to Bebo. Bebo at the time was really running forward with Dwarven Realms. And we both said, why don't we just go for it? And we were lucky enough, we were able to raise some seed funding not so long ago, and the game was growing. And one of the best thing we've done was grow an amazing community. But yeah, I'll talk about all of that later. But that's sort of how I got here.
All right, well, awesome. You really have a great background in gaming, it seems.
Absolutely.
What games did you play growing up? Just like for a few. What were your favorite games growing up?
And normally think like, okay, in elementary school, I played this, high school, this, like the big staple games.
Yeah, so as a kid, it's all of the DOS games. It's really hard to pin down. I'm remembering, what was it? Commander Keen was a big one. Civilization was a big one. There was a few quests at the time. Monkey Island, I think. I don't like. There was a bunch of those at the time. I think later on, elementary and later, when the Sega Genesis hit, Bebo and I were playing a lot of Mortal Kombat. We got into fighters. In high school, we also played a lot of Tekken 7. I can probably beat anyone in chat in Tekken 7.
Oh, that was your game.
Yeah,
I was a Street Fighter guy, so Street Fighter.
Super Smash.
Nice. Yeah, and then afterwards, mainly MMOs, and I'd say throughout the last couple of years, as more of an adult, played a lot of Path of Exile, a lot of Diablo 3, a lot of Diablo 2, a lot of those games.
Frosty, he didn't say Diablo 4. Just say
Well, he's
Frosty.
going to get to it. He's
Sorry,
about to just
sorry.
say it. You cut him off.
Sorry.
Yep.
Diablo 4, obviously.
There we go.
Oh, he
Yeah.
just said that to placate to you.
Okay, well, real quick, interject. What class do you play or did play in World of Warcraft? Just real quick.
Wait, before you answer that, just so everybody's aware, Frosty is a full-time World of Warcraft player right now. So just so you're aware, it's got its hooks in him.
Frost Mage.
And he's got a very specific raid schedule. Sorry, now you can go ahead.
I was a tank, protection warrior. Was a main tank for a while. Loved tanking. I played that afterwards. Bebo and I also got into a few of the MOBAs, so always played tanks in Hero of the Storm and the fat characters in League of Legends. But mainly a tank. And Bebo was actually an amazing healer as well. So we were always
Tank and a healer.
Yeah, tank and a healer. It was really easy for us to get groups.
Yeah, I know. You guys got to come back. We got a shortage of those.
Crater, what is your number one MMO? So like top, this is my whole life.
Okay.
My number one. You can only pick one. You can't say, oh, this or this. One.
They're very high up there, tied, but I'd say if I had to pick one, my favorite time I ever had was Dark Tide, the PvP server in Ashron's Call. So Ashron's Call was one of my favorites.
Frosty, you're World of Warcraft, right?
Yeah, that pretty much that's it. I tried Final Fantasy 14 for like 3 months, and I tried Guild Wars for like another like 3 months, but then it always came back to World of Warcraft. WildStar was fun, but that game died fast.
I was a Star Wars Galaxies MMO player. That's my favorite of all time.
Nice.
That was before your time, Frosty. You're a little...
Yeah, I was about to say that. I know I played the recent Star Wars MMO, which isn't too recent.
Yeah.
But that was fun.
Galaxies. Okay, so let's talk about DR now. Obviously, Dwarven Realms, for anybody that is watching and don't know, there has been 24 official seasons of early access. And if you talk to some people that have been around a while, they say it's actually 28, but 24 official seasons with some smaller ones mixed in. And Dwarven Realms is leaving early access and dropping 1.0 Season 1 game launch September 27th. So we're literally 15 days away. So talking about Dwarven Realms, just, it's not really I guess it's a question. Crater, how are you feeling? Is this excitement, nervous? Like, I know it's been a long time coming. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's funny. Bebo and I kept talking about it, and I think I'm more excited for the release of Dwarven Realms than I was for my own wedding and my first, my daughter's birth. And
you can't say that.
Yeah, please cut that part out.
I'll edit that. I'll get Frosty to do some AI or something.
Yeah.
But we're so excited. It's really been like a labor of love, something we put our hearts and souls to, a game that, when we started, it was just Bebo and I playing this weird open world, half MMO, half Survivor, half ARPG, or maybe a third, sorry, not three halves. But it's so exciting reaching this point. I do want to say, like, that date is a very, very important milestone. But at the end of the day, it's just a date. Nothing has really changed. Nothing is really changing. We're still going to have season. We're still going to evolve the game. But it is a meaningful milestone for us when we say, hey, we want to bring more people in and try out what we've been working on.
One more follow-up question, and then you can go ahead, Frosty. What is the current, or from day one to now, how long has Dwarven Realms been in development? Estimate. Yeah,
it's slightly less than 2 years, to be honest.
About 2 years? Okay.
About 2 years. Slightly less, I would say, but yeah.
All right. So I just started playing Dwarven Realms like last week. And I've watched Aaron play it. It looked good, but when I started playing it, it is pretty fun. I'm having a lot more fun playing it than watching it. So would you say now is maybe the best time for new players to jump in, considering the game's launching in like 2 weeks?
I think something we've learned is that people have different tastes, different preferences, and different bar for what they expect from a game. So we've had people, jump into Dwarven Realm it was, I would say, pre-alpha almost, and they loved it, and most of them have stuck with us to this time and are shaping the game. There are a lot of people that don't accept how we treated early access and how early the game is. I would say right now, and we've seen a lot of players and a lot of high-end influencers and streamers and gamers play it, I think it's at a really fun state. You can jump into it, you feel the soul of the game, you're having a good time, you can't really go wrong. It doesn't matter which stunts you take or which offense you take, or at the end of the day, you'll do fine, you'll be able to get along in the raptures and enjoy the game. And, if you're having a good time and you want to get a level deeper, we always say there's next season, if you're playing a seasonal characters, or if you're playing a permanent characters. Again, worst case, you get as far as you can, and if you want, you start a new character. But definitely a fun time for people that are open-minded, and if you want a more stable experience, just wait 2 weeks. We're now in heavy stabilization mode.
So for a new player, can they just jump in without having to look anything up and just kind of almost understand what to do or fully understand? Do they need to look up a guide in advance? What are your thoughts on that?
We've seen many different type of people play it. We've seen folks like Karn or Nugian, and again, they're very specific typecast. They jumped in and they played the game for maybe 12 hours, and then another 12 hours, and another 12 hours, even a day off stream, I think, for both of them because they loved it so much. They're heavily metagaming. They want to know the builds. They want to know what's behind the scenes. I think we even had Crip in chat a few days ago asking about different stances and guidance. If you're an ARPG gamer and you've been ARPGing, using Path of Building and experimenting in Path of Exile, you'd probably want to look at a few video, read a few guides. There's a new wiki made by Ghost and the community and a few other folks that have been working on it. There's awesome guides on our Discord. You would probably want to learn and know what you're doing, and some people do that. But even if you don't do any of that and you don't follow the guides and you just play the game and, move through the ruptures, you'll be fine. You'll love it. You'll enjoy it. You'll get far. It's not as deep and as competitive as a lot of these other ARPGs have been piling up over the years. So yeah.
I like to explain it to people that it is very easy to understand, but it is very, very hard to master. So as far as the core concept of I just tell people, kill enough enemies, fight the boss, kill the boss, move on to the next difficulty. That's basically Dwarven Realms. But I'm also in my 8th season, and I always learn something new. Like it'll be like 10 minutes into the new season, and I still didn't know that. So the game has tons and tons of depth, but the overall core mechanic of it is, I think, very easy for as far as a new player experience. And Crater, Frosty, what do you think? Because you were a new player.
Yeah, I played for a few hours. I jumped in. I didn't look up anything. I got past the first boss. Everything kind of seemed like pretty intuitive. I don't think I was really stopped or stumped at anything. It was just kind of like, what's this new power I got? Let me try it out. Oh, that's cool. Or I don't like that. I'm going to switch it out. And then I noticed there was a respec area. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to look up anything. I'm just going to play until I get stuck, because then when I get stuck, that's when I can look up stuff and I can use the respec and I'll be fine from there. But so far, pretty fun. I haven't looked up anything, having a good time.
Nice. Very cool.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, but what is there like a new bit? Like, what build do you like playing in the game?
I think I really like the one hands and the spin to wins. And there's a tornado one hand spin to win that I just usually go to because it's fun. I know it's not the best meta out there, and Majory has been broken for a season, and before that a few of the other stances, and obviously like everyone, we're still struggling and balancing melee versus the ranged. But for me,
I only use magic. That's all I use is magic.
What's better, melee or ranged right now?
Ranged.
It's funny. I think the meta is maybe it's a very loaded conversation, and then there's very different metrics and
let's boil it down.
Of how you look at it. But the meta is at a healthy state. You see in terms of offhands of the skills. Very dynamic, very different. A lot of I think the top 10 in different ladders, you see a lot of different abilities. It's not like, we had season that everybody played Chain Lightning, and a season that everybody played Lightning Totems, and a season that everybody played Fire Orbs or Blood Dragons or whatever, whenever we broke something. And now it's all sort of concise and coming together, so there's interest there. And also in terms of the stances, I see, Mouse in one of the leaderboards as like the top one, archeries are back. So the meta is at a healthy state. With that said, we do want to rework a lot of the attacks to make all of them fun. I think archery is a bit clunky. The Majory Starfall is outshining a lot of the others' abilities. Mouse definitely needs some love.
I use Magic Starfall. That's my build.
So yeah, I think Dwarven Realm is one. It's more of an experiment for us. Every season we're experimenting, we're introducing new things, we're iterating. I don't think we'll ever get to perfection. I don't think anything will ever be done. But it's at a healthy state. I feel very, like, taking a step back, very positive about the meta.
So normally every season is between 4 and 5 weeks. That's about the time frame. Every once in a while, maybe 6 weeks if you're trying to get a certain timing. So it's very, very quick seasons. Will that change with 1.0?
So I think the seasons we sort of a little bit misused that. When, some folks come to the game and say, this game has been out for 24 seasons? That's insane. How does it feel? I don't know, they have like dog shit, trash, whatever they use, but like so early access. And we're like, we literally used seasons as sprints. In the beginning, we had a season every week or every other week. And we just ran with it. We just numbered them. So it's not really 24 seasons, but the goal is as we reach season 1, and again, it really depends on how the game does. If the game really pops off in terms of tens if not hundreds of thousands of players adopting it and playing it and entering accepting it to their ARPG routine and cycles that they go through every season, it's probably a different story than if we stay a small indie game with a couple of thousands of players like we have today. But the goal is to reach I think half of what normal ARPG do, so we'll have 2 seasons in that cycle, or in other words 6 to 7 weeks per season. I think is a nice spot for us.
Yeah.
But all subjective to change based on how we see the game progressing.
Okay. Okay. I'm a new player, like I mentioned before. When there's a new season, is there minor changes, major changes, balance changes, and also in a season, can people expect to get to max level? Is it like infinitely leveling? And what do you consider the end game?
Good question. I think
I'm going to pull up the highest level person right now while you're answering. I'll
start with the level and meta and then talk about the changes. I think in terms of the real game, there used to be a campaign, and then we sort of rupturized the campaign in terms of ruptures 1 to 35. Now it's 1 through 30. Everything has been redone, so there's no real. It's just now a legacy term that we use with the community, but essentially ruptures 1 to 30 are the early game, I would say. When you reach 30, some call it end game, but in reality it's the mid game. And then the end game really starts around, I'd say, rupture between 80 to 100 is the end game. Once you start doing the Olympus and then the bridge and the Cathedral of Fire, that's the end game that most people reach. And I would say levels anywhere between 500 plus.
609. 609 is the highest level player right now. 610.
Yeah.
610. It's not even that much.
Is there like an in-game leaderboard for highest level?
There is an in-game leaderboard. There has been, I think, since season 6 or 7. I think for us, especially because we tested with, probably it was me, Bebo, and a couple of dozen of folks that are now in chat. We used to test those seasons out. It was very important for us to compete with each other because we all came from ARPGs and we all love to compete. And obviously, every season, either Bebo or I were first in the leaderboard, so it was our way to show the community that we're better than them. No, just kidding. There are a few people that actually beat us, but yeah, we had leaderboards early on. And then you did ask about the amounts of content where I think shipping between seasons. I think on the spectrum of, games that do minor changes or just interest one mechanic and insert a shitload of content, we're probably somewhere beyond that. So if you look at the game a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, just the season that's the Chaos Week 3, between every Chaos Week there's new ruptures, then there's new modifiers. There's the stances that have been reworked. There's new boss fights, and there's so much stuff in the works that we have to make sure it comes together before September 27th. But definitely expect tons of seasons, tons of mechanics coming in every season.
Frosty, I can explain it in a better way. It would be imagine Diablo 4 preseason compared to Diablo 4 Season 6 Vessels of Hatred. Still the same core game, but how much change is in between that?
And that's each season?
And that's probably the last 3 months of DR. That's how much change has
That's
come.
amazing.
Actually, maybe the last 3 or 4 seasons. So
okay, so if people are playing and they're just like, oh, new season's coming up, like they definitely want to check it out because like a massive amount is going to be different than the last season. That's pretty good. Real quick on the leaderboards, is there a way to look back on the past seasons to see who won basically the highest level of those leaderboards?
Yeah, so one of the cool things we've been doing, and it's part of our, you see it's a recurring theme here, it's sort of a studio principle with us, but we're building alongside our community. To some extent, we treat our community as extension of the team when it comes to QA, game design, and we started building an API of sort that people can use to build things around the ladder that we expose. And we've been working with Glimmer from our community, who's apparently an amazing web developer, in some corporate, I don't even know. And he's been developing the dwarvenleaderboard.com website. And there, I think you can see almost all past history and seasons and everything. So you can go back, see who won, see builds. And obviously, it's not perfect yet, but still work in progress. The idea is one day to offer everything, the cards, all of the inventory, everything through API, so Glimmer can actually build a path of building, if you will, to some extent.
That is very cool. Crater, I'm going to stop you for just a second. Welcome, everybody, from Rax's stream. Rax, thank you so much for the raid. Just to let everybody know what's going on, this is episode 6 of the Town Portal podcast with me and Frostylaroo. And today we have CraterMan. Crater is the founder, one of the founders, co-founder, co-creator of Dwarven Realms that is launching September 27th, 1.0. And today we are, for the podcast, talking through the game and what's happening with it and the development. So welcome. Thank you, Rax.
I don't know. What were you talking? I don't know.
Glimmer.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I do want to say, Rax, thank you. We love you. We love your stream. Bebo especially watches you all the time, and it was very exciting to see you pencil in Dwarven Realm yesterday into that amazing plan you have coming up. And I think you also mentioned that you're going to be on 24/7 for like 2 months. So I really hope you make it out of it, alive. Yeah, and we were talking about the APIs and what we're planning, and yeah, that's part of the goal, to expose more and let Glimmer build more cool stuff, and maybe additional folks from the community that want to build tools and cool things around Dwarven Realms, and especially tools for the folks that want to metagame and learn more about the game. So yeah, all of that is in the works right now.
Oh, nice. I assume we're going to be going into what's coming up in the season 1, so I don't think I'll jump to that right now.
What I could Frosty, is I can switch to the extra scene. I'm in the game right now, and then you can ask your questions to Crater, and I can try and put like a visual to his answer.
All right, before we jump into what's coming up, my question leading into it, but just randomly that doesn't have to do with it, is, was PvP ever considered for the game?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, so there's a few things we've been experimenting with around multiplayer in general, I would say. And the first thing we have to do is get 2 players in the same session. So our sort of roadmap for that is maybe start with we have fellowships in the game. The idea is maybe fellowships could have a hall that players can connect to, and then maybe trade and hang out, probably not fight and not kill mobs. I would say once we achieve that, and that's all post-release, again, assuming how the game does and how much resources we have and the priorities. But the goal after that would be to try to get then 2, 3, 4 players, as much as we can, into the same Rapture together to grind mob. Again, there's tons of different challenges when it comes to Dwarven Realm, including the mob density that we have and us trying to keep FPS high. We've been struggling with that since the inception of the game. We've noticed that player value, the highest thing that player value in ARPGs is fast FPS, but the only thing that they value more is mob density. So it has always been the struggle of, do you want less mobs and better performance, or do you want more mobs? And people tell us, I don't care, heat up my PC, just give me the mobs. But there's challenges with that, and I think then the last step would be probably having players fight each other in some kind of PvP mode. Again, the game hasn't been really balance for that, and players do. When you look at players' HP and their damage sometimes is in the trillions, and their HP is not. So it could be just right now a one-hit game. But there are ways. Obviously, you've seen it with WoW, PvP. There are ways to give PvP gear and scale the gear to PvP, but yeah, that's maybe down the line.
Okay, so we can expect 100-player co-op fighting millions of hordes of mobs with
Right.
photorealistic graphics in like 2 weeks, right?
By September 27th, no.
Yeah,
All
that's-
right.
that was actually one of the number one questions for the pre-show before the podcast was multiplayer when. So now that makes sense. Okay.
It's definitely something we want to do. I do want to say that I've been playing Path of Exiles for a year, and I always played, the solo self-funded hardcore mode. And I'm having a good time. Like I don't really miss playing with other folks when I play Path of Exiles. So I do think ARPGs can stand alone when you're in a single session and grinding mobs, as long as there's social elements. But I do think Dwarven Realm will be really, really, really fun if you could co-op with a friend or two and grind together. So it is something we want to do.
All right, off to the in-game gameplay. We got to show all these Diablo 4 super fans a horse because they all love their horses.
Extra scene, or should I say section 2 of the Town Portal podcast. Oh, look at this.
That's not a horse.
It's not a horse. You know what's really funny? Obviously, I main Last Epoch. The legs on this spider, the way they move, are better than Last Epoch's. Last Epoch spiders kind of float. I really like this mount. It doesn't break trees, though, like Drythus, though. Ah, why spiders? What's wrong with spiders? All right. Inside of Dwarven Realms, I'm just taking over. You have different mounts. You have different skins. You have different pets. And then, of course, you have your stat breakdown. So right now I'm using the spider. I could move over to my mount, Aaron, the Destroyer of Worlds, and I can pick... I don't know. Oh, we'll be Lilith. There we go. We'll be Lilith for Frosty. We're now Lilith. And we're on my mount. And no, this is not designed after Last Epoch's Golem. It's not. Okay, maybe it is. All right, what do you want to look at first, Mr. Crater?
Yeah, I think we can talk a little bit about the home fort. I think, it's a new design. It's part of our redesign for the entire game, as you see. Now we're thinking, we experimented throughout the year. A lot of people, I don't think you've asked this, but a lot of folks asked us, where does the name Dwarven Realms come from?
Where does it come from?
Yes.
So it's not like a really deep story, but what part of the studio principles and how Bebo and I were able to build so much in so little time before we expanded the team is we're using a lot of creator marketplaces out there. If you look at the Unreal marketplace, there's a lot of 3D artists that are students and upload their work there, and they sell it to make a living. So it's really like a really cool way to get ahead in building video games, if you will, and I really recommend it to all novice video games creator. But one of the things we didn't know how to do was build a world with a cohesive language, especially when we were tailoring different asset packs from different creators. But what we did notice, there was a tons of assets around dwarves and dwarven times and dwarven kingdoms, and we just threw a lot of them out there. And at some point we say, hey, this actually looks like a Dwarven Realm, and we just decided to call the game Dwarven Realms. Funny enough, you play a human, and then we came up with the story, which is that the dwarves have been extinct, and now the humans are there, sort of like imagine Lord of the Rings by the Great Power. And that's
It's a pretty good name.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than some other name. Last Epoch.
What? Last epic. Everyone, I didn't even plan on doing this, but I might as well. This little courtyard area that's hidden behind the bookcase, this is where all the creators have their little booths. Like there's DAP mods. Right here is my booth. And if you hit claim reward, type in action RPG money sign, you can
So does that
claim
look like you?
the golem mount. No, it's not supposed to look like the creator, I don't think.
I don't know. Zoom in. Let's see.
I can't zoom in.
Just like run
Put,
past.
I mean, as far as
Like-
as far as the arms wise, like that's fairly accurate.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, I'll put a hat on him so he looks like.
That's what you should do. Yeah, you should put a hat on him because then
So
it'll
free
be like,
golem mount. Can you go on the golem mount now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Here, it's my Destroyer of Worlds golem mount. See, it's got the hat on.
You have a collector's edition of that, right? For the people that won the.
I don't think you gave it to me.
I don't think you have it, yeah, but it exists. Someone has it.
What
Oh, yeah,
about
so-
what about Darth's? This is Darth's shark microtransaction. That's his mount.
That's cool.
Zizarin is the war whale. Is it a whale? No.
That's not a whale. It's like a fish.
What's it called? Yeah, it's called the war whale.
Looks like a whale.
Yeah, it looks like a whale. It looks like one of those like super underwater deep. No, I know the name of it. It's what's the name of it? It's not a
Oh, you know, now that we're on the
lanternfish.
topic of these mounts here, just before we jump
Angler.
into
Sorry, go on.
how we can get more mounts. So Dwarven Realms is coming out in 2 weeks. Was it 27th? People who want to purchase this, I'm assuming the game is like $90, maybe $100, like the typical ARPGs out there. Is that correct?
Yeah, quadruple A, I think they call it. Yeah, the game has actually been free for the most part of the 2 years in early access. At some point, it was $4.99 for a while, and then it was $9.99. To be honest, there's no big strategy behind the pricing. We always wanted to make it affordable to anyone. Even now that it's $9.99, to be honest, we would have kept it $4.99. But the way Steam works and the Steam algorithm give more weight and promote games that are higher in price. So we had to struggle.
Just blame it on inflation.
There you go.
Sure,
Inflation.
whatever. But we do want to keep the game very affordable, accessible to anyone. There's no plans to raise the price on release or anything like that. It's going to stay $9. If anything, we're probably going to have a sale on release and have it for less. But yeah, I that's sort of the TLDR on the prices. You want to keep it the way it is. We understand that some people just want to come to Dwarven Realms, play it for a day, 2 days, 3 days, have fun.
Okay.
And move on to the next game. Not everyone is going to main it for a year or two and makes it their main ARPG. And that's completely fine. And we want those people to be able to afford it and have fun.
So right now, if you
yeah,
could
go on.
see on screen, I feel like you guys have pulled the camera back a lot. It's more isometric than ever. You want to talk a little bit about your thoughts on the actual camera angle for DR?
Yeah, I think we've been part of the challenges of making a third-person action RPGs, and there's a reason why everybody does it asymmetric. It's because there's a lot of challenges with it, especially when you look at environment design and mobs and density, and there's FPS issues with what you render in the background. We knew that it was important for us to keep Dwarven Realms different and make sure that the game, stays unique. So we always wanted the camera. But we did notice that while we were experimenting with the angles, the farther we got to some extent, obviously, the more fun it made it for just players to grind. It also helped with the clutter that's going on the screen. And we do have plans to clean that up. And yes, we have a feature in the making that people have been asking for years to, scroll the intensity and the bloom and then the glow of these features, of the stuff that's happening on the screen. So that's
Seizure warning. So you can actually, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, everything's on the to-do depending on when we get to it. But We just noticed that while you're grinding mobs, it is more fun. But we do at some point want to give the players control like a scroller in WoW, so people can pick and choose, what they prefer. We don't see a harm in that. And maybe even, a lot of folks asked to be able to lock the camera as well. So that's something that we also plan to do later on. It's all just a backlog of features that we want to give players. But right now, we're really happy with how it feels.
Okay. Now that you've said it, being able to lock the camera would be freaking awesome. That would be... Would it lock the camera, like when your initial design thoughts, would that also lock the camera for boss fights too?
Are you trying to make it an asymmetric RPG? That's what you're trying to do, Aaron?
Yeah.
With the camera?
Yeah. I mean, yes.
I think when we say lock it, yes, you'll be able. I haven't experimented enough to tell you what's fun. A lot of this stuff would be, it's stuff that like we did everything with Dwarven Realms, and again, you see it like as this recurring theme as a studio principle. We iterate a lot. We try a lot of stuff out, and we just whatever doesn't work, we get rid of. Whatever is fun, we double down on. And yeah, that's part of our thesis. So we'll see how it works with the camera. But yeah, the idea is to let you lock it, distant and angle, so you can have the most fun you can and not get seasick or motion sick or anything like that. I know there are people that are more sensitive to that than others.
Got it.
Can you play this game with a controller?
Yes, you can. I actually only play Dwarven Realms these days with a controller. I think the only, I would say, because the game wasn't designed controller first in mind, just because we had no idea what we were doing. The gameplay, the grinding, the gameplay is very, very fun, and that works pretty smooth. The crafting, inventory, choosing a skill tree, all of the menus, the UIs that weren't built for controllers, those are a bit harder. You can still do end-to-end. Everything you can craft, you can equip, you can use the skill tree, but that's not as fun in a controller. But yeah, controller definitely playable with controller.
I'm new to the game and I don't know if it's already available, but if not, are there plans in the future to bring this to console?
The game is currently PC only on Steam. We do have a plan. Again, it all depends on how popular the game is and how fun it is, and the obviously how well it does commercially will help us with resources to bring it to other platforms. We do definitely think it could be a really fun game to just play on PlayStation, on Xbox. It already works really well on Steam Deck. I also play it on Steam Deck. So definitely more platforms. Maybe even the Epic Game Store and other PC places where you can get game. But for September 27th, it does look like it will probably just be on Steam, mainly because of resource limitations, not some grand level decision here.
And I hear what you're saying. Everything is obviously determined in the future based upon how the game does with launch and future content. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Aaron, your character looks so much cooler than my character.
Why?
Who's level 24 and on world, I'm not sure what it's called, like World 14.
Rupture
14.
Rupture 14. These damn new freaking imps that shoot the laser drive me crazy.
Yeah, my character just shoots a fast bow with like arcane magic on the ground. It's cool, but your dude definitely has got a lot cooler skills.
So the build I'm using right now is Ferocity Wolves. They're actually kind of hard to see, but basically I have a bunch of lightning wolves in there that are jumping and tearing everything up. This was my build from season 0, the last season, and for testing week I just kind of picked the same build because I knew it. So yeah, I'm using Ferocity Wolves. So, Crater, for a new player or someone that's like, okay, I play D4, we're waiting for the expansion. I'm excited for PoE 2. I am waiting for November 15th. Kind of a downside, there's nothing to really play right now. What would you tell them to try and convince them to give DR a try? Like, what do you think's the good value prop?
Yeah, I think the game really speaks for itself. I'm not a great salesperson, never was, but I would say that while we didn't have, when we started Dwarven Realms, and again, the thesis, the principle we used, we iterated to make a really fun RPG. We didn't have like this grand vision of exactly what Dwarven Realms will be. But because Bebo and I took this journey, and because our amazing community came along, and now the amazing developers we have on the studio, something different was born, and we got this feedback. I'm not sure if I can share their name, but one of the top game designer in this industry played it, and he said, Steam is full of cookie cutters these days, of these roguelite, just vampire survival.
That's all there's.
Copy paste. And I played Dwarven Realms, and what can I tell you guys? It just feels different, and I think that depth and systems we brought from Path of Exile, the third-person camera that we insisted on, the mob density that you see really on 2D games and pixel game, but in 3D, like the amounts of mob that can be on the screen in the hundreds. And then we have these elements of endless scaling that usually you would see in mobile games, or I don't even know where, but that what we call the fossil. That combination of those features really makes it a different game. And ARPG folks would love it. Roguelite people would love it. Souls-like people would love it. I'd say my only message is come with an open mind. Like if you're expecting, this quadruple A game that you've seen, I don't know, lately there was Elden Ring, and now the monkey with a stick.
Wukong.
This is not Wukong.
Yeah.
Monkey with a stick. That's what it's called.
No,
Yes.
It's not that level of polish, but it's a very, very fun game. It has surprise depth, and like Aaron said, which I think the best video games are, it's very easy to get into and play, very hard to master. So if you do want to stick around and learn the game, and then there's years of content right now. I think even the community doesn't know, just because we've added so much new mods and gears. In the next, I think there's 30 new cards coming in. So yeah, the game is just
For people who don't know, what is a card?
You know what? I can actually take them really quickly for you, Crater, through.
Yeah, I want to see a bit about the cards and the crafting. Like, I just got into crafting my own item, and I
like
felt like I was
Spider-Man
able to
skin.
make things very powerful.
Okay, so what can you actually? I always tell people, because when I stream Dwarven Realms, 8 seasons now, what the hell is this? What are you playing? Like, it's what I always get. What, Aaron? What is this? And I say, this is Dwarven Realms, my favorite $10 game on Steam. It is a third-person action RPG built on Unreal Engine 5 that has the mob density of a Vampire Survivors, but the character customization of an action RPG made by awesome developers, and you should support them. That's like my pitch. I literally say it verbatim all the time. Now, what can you actually customize? Every single time you level, you get to pick an attribute point. This is pretty standard. Strength, agility, stamina, endurance, luck, dex, and wisdom. And each one of these are very different, which they've actually rebalanced recently. You also have your monster passive tree, where a lot of people are always like, oh, what does that remind you of? Path of Exile, right?
It's a lot easier than Path of Exile.
It's way easier than Path of Exile, but kind of the design philosophy behind it, the size, the scope. It is easier, but it's, that's what normally most people see. So you've got your attribute points, you have your passive points. Also, you level up the weapon of your choice. So right now you have spears, mauls, two-handed, one-handed archery, mage, and there's something else coming. What is it, Crater? Somebody said unarmed. Is that true?
I think unarmed has always been something we wanted to do, and we have a half-baked version of it in the game that if you take off your weapons, you see some elements of it, and there's like a sort of skill tree that opens up. But we do want to do some nice rework to unarmed, hopefully before season 1. Can't promise, so don't
Okay.
quote me on it. But we're trying to get that out there and make it slightly more unique, slightly more fun. We've added some mods for people to mess around with that. People that really love the game. And then we had a backlog of a few other stances that we're working on.
What are they? People were talking about them in chat. I'm not putting words in your mouth, so you don't have to. People keep saying Necro is a future stance.
Yeah, I think I don't know if now I don't want to
Real quick,
confirm,
what's the
but I'll say that the backlog is something that has to do with minions for sure. There's another one that we had a really cool experiment we call the Bard, which is really cool.
Isn't that what
And
Dreythus
then-
wants, or is that Ghost? One of them wants a bard. Sorry, go on.
There's a few folks that have asked for that. And the last one is what we call a shapeshifter, if you will.
Oh,
But
a
imagine
druid. Yeah.
your QNR turn into a bear or a panther, and then you get different QNRs and things like that. But that might be like content that people should expect for season 2 and 3 and stuff that will probably roll out as the game releases.
Well, you could see, and I know this sounds silly, but from a spacing perspective on this menu, you could see that it's to the left, to the right, and there's open space here. So for sure you have plans to fill in these gaps. But no, that is great. So just to reiterate, you level up, you have your attribute points, you have your passive tree, and then you have your stance. Now, your stance is decided based upon, simply put, your weapon. So are you going to use spears? And as you use the weapon, you automatically upgrade this. So all this is just when you equip the weapon, you slowly upgrade this as you kill enemies, and you get to pick, which is so nice and convenient, what skills you like. So you get a primary attack and a secondary attack based upon this. And the big one is always at 4,200. For example, in Magic, you unlock Dark Mage, where I can freely pass through enemies. So those are some of the character customizations. There is also obviously your gear. Okay. And your gear can also have modifiers. Frostylaroo, a modifier in Dwarven Realms, is a legendary aspect in D4. So a modifier that actually changes and does something in the gameplay. And you can get modifiers on bracers, amulets, helm, pants, boots. Right.
Now, what's an example of one?
This is one right here. It says, on my bracers, a chance to spawn an energized hellhound, electrifying all enemies in front of it. So if I go over here to the training dubby, since I have this bracer on, I actually have a chance of triggering an extra minion. Which is right.
Any moment.
Boom, there he is, this green guy. See him right there?
Yes.
So that green guy is popping up because of the modifier on my bracer.
Mr. Action RPG, can you go to the crystal station with the quartz? I think, Frosty, you asked about the cards, right?
Yes. That's where we got here originally to start with. But
Yeah. So I do
so
want
many
to
things
say,
to talk about. Go on.
yeah, this system it's funny. It went through a few cycles. At the end of the day, the TLDR of it's another system of progression that can help you with your build, another power spike. We did some work on the cards lately that people should see in the next patch, but the idea is this would go well with your build. So obviously, there used to be one big build that was stacking strengths in the game. Now, lately, we've been working a little bit about the meta, and now there's energy regen stacking, and dex stacking was also sort of valid. But I think every stat now is valid to some extent with the new modes that we're releasing, and there's actually a few new builds that you can do beyond those that might break the game or might be underwhelming until we tweak them. But the idea is this card system plays as another system that will help you create your build. There's also RNG here. You see you have three rolls at the bottom. The idea is that if you complete a card, you choose 3 of it, then you get double the bonuses.
You want to find 4 of the same card. So you want to find 1, 2, 3, and then on the 4th one, you get a red version, which is double the bonuses. So you're trying to find the full stack of the card you want, and you get to pick a card after you have completed 5 ruptures. So if you completed rupture 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you would have 5 crystals, and you could transfer those 5 crystals for a card. And inside of Dwarven Realms, you could skip. So if you did rupture 10, and the last one you did was 5, you would get the crystals for all of them. So a lot of people always try and jump 5 at a time so that you can get your 5 crystals. And then this guy over here, Frosty, you can actually upgrade based upon rupture complete your castle area. So for example, if I had 100,000 gold, I can upgrade my table, and then I would get an extra reroll.
And by the way, a cool story for that, Frost, is when we experimented with that, Bebo wanted to do more of like a roguelike Vampire Survivor version at some point. So these cards would actually pop up in ruptures to do different things and get offense ability.
Cool. I was thinking of that.
And it was really, really fun. At some point, we even tried it with an asymmetric camera, locked and auto attacks. And it really felt like a really cool Vampire Survival that maybe one day we'll do a spin-off or a DLC or a mode for Dwarven Realm.
And something I learned after 8 seasons, I have no idea if they've been there forever, if it's new, but on your stat sheet, you could scroll all the way down to the bottom, and the cards you have selected are there, and it shows you how many of each one.
Nice.
This being the best card in the game, flat damage.
Just flat damage.
Which
So
they
what,
nerfed in half. It's still the best card.
Do you want to stack all flat damage cards?
Well, it's like, I mean, I don't know how in DR terms, it would be like intelligence, or I don't know, like it's just it's what you use your multiplicative damage off of. It's for flat. It's good. It's good. So
Yeah, I like that Vampire Survivor mode. If that's just like as like a sub game within the game, that'd be cool. Or like an event or something, like a, I don't know, holiday event. Who knows?
and not
Anything
to
could be
like
possible.
not to just like overcomplicate and blow everyone's brains out. You have your attribute points. You get every level. You have your passive tree. You have your stance and the skills you get to pick. You have your cards, every 5 crystals. You have your gear. You have your gear modifiers. You have your pet, and there's multiple pets that you want to synergize to your build, and you upgrade your pet. You also have your fossil. And the way the fossil works is as you play, everybody has the same fossil. This isn't like there's 100 different fossils. You just get a fossil. And as you play, you collect these little stones. And basically it's easy. Every time you find a stone, you right click and the stones move over and upgrade your fossil. And on top of all of that, you also have where actually most of your damage comes from, and that is your offhands, or a better way to put it, your skills. And your skills, you have 4 different slots. You've got your trinket, your horn, your goblet, and your belt. So as far as like character customization and be able to tailor a build to yourself, I mean, there's like a lot of progression systems. There's a lot of progression systems.
Is there a scroll wheel in your inventory there? I come from D4 where there's almost no inventory space. I'm just curious.
So you have, yeah, look how far down it goes.
space.
Yeah, and you can actually get in the skill tree inventory slots. There's even a build that scales off damage for inventory slot that's also popular.
What?
But I think for us it was very important that you don't run out. The thing I hate the most about the Diablo games and PoE that you need to start playing Tetris in your inventory and pick and choosing. So we always wanted you to get.
It's a very simple and strong kind of meta build. Is boosting your character based upon your inventory slots. It's very clever, Crater. That's very clever, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's very clever.
And I think Frosty also asked about crafting. Crafting has went through many iterations as well. So
crafting in this game is like nothing I've ever seen. Just right off the bat, it is I don't want to say weird. It's actually very clever. It's just so different than what anybody is used to. So let's just take a item. Okay. So we've got this two-handed weapon, which, by the way, the picture looks like a one-handed weapon. That's also all these pictures need to be changed. Anyways, when you look at this, you're going to be able, this has 6 crafting specs. I'll try my best to explain it, which means that this item can be modified 6 times. Any item in the game drops with different crafting specs. This is 7, this is 6, 4, 8. And every once in a while, you find some crazy item that has like 20 on it. Okay. Is there actually, is there a max grader for what they could drop with?
There's artificial max that we've placed, but I think now from Zul you can get 8 or 9 even.
Okay, got it. So let's just say 9 is the most that you could find, something like that. All right.
So we're releasing we want to release a tier above of weapons and a boss, but we haven't made a decision yet. That's why I'm struggling. But,
no, that's okay. That's okay. Just like, yeah. So now on here, you will see that this item fell on the ground with flat damage, which is good. You always need that on a weapon. Two-handed damage, and I can unlock another affix. Now, every single one of these can basically be changed. When you click on it, it says upgrade or alter. So now if I was using two-handed, I could keep this and I could upgrade it, and it tells me what I need. And right here, it shows all my crafting materials. Or I could go here and I can alter it, and it'll show me what options I have. So if I wanted to, I could add critical strike chance or critical strike damage. And then you can go down here and I could add an affix. So I'm going to add a lifesteal. Done. And I'm going to add fire beam. Done. And now I've got 4 affixes. Okay. Like last epoch, 4 affixes, and we've used 2 crafting specs. Well, now since I have the 4 affixes I want, then I would actually upgrade. And the main upgrade you would likely want is the flat damage. So I'd click on this, I would hit upgrade, and I'd hit upgrade all. I don't have the required crafting materials, and I would have taken this blue item and turned it into a rare item, and added the affixes I wanted and upgraded the flat damage.
Nice. Yeah, when I started doing this, I had a bow build and I was going attack speed, and like the difference between uncrafted and then after crafting was like I was going so much faster.
Let me like show you for an example. Okay, so I just did that run. Okay, yeah, you can kind of see it on the screen. I just did that run, and I have all these weapons. They're all level 12 or 13. What you're normally looking for is flat damage as like, so the wand I am currently using has 116 flat damage, which was like an amazing find that I got for a level 20 wand. So when you're looking at these other weapons, like this one's 38, this one's 40, this one's 36. This one's 36. This one is 83. This one's 38. This one's 38. This one's 88. So looking at these,
flat damage would be like a high item level.
No. Well, the higher the item level, the higher chance, but not necessarily. It's also the
like
roll
in
that you get.
Diablo terms, like a higher item level weapon will always have higher damage. So we're just looking for
not always. Not always.
Not necessarily, right?
Yeah.
It has a chance or a range. It's more like Diablo 3 in that regards, even though that wasn't visible to the players. But you have a higher chance of getting more damage.
So, for example, like I'm just making this up. Like, let's say this axe had a range of 20 to 100. But a level 40 item has a range of 50 to 200. You could still get a higher level item with a much lower roll based upon the range of the level. So you have a higher potential to get something better. But just from an itemization perspective, you normally want to try and find the highest amount of flat damage on your weapon.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing to add, like on the crafting system, it is rather simple, I would say. You know, the item levels, white just have 1 affixes, the blue have 2, the yellow are 3 and 4, and then you turn it into an orange, or you get a purple epic from the game. The idea was to give players simplicity here, but there's depth that's creeping into it, like the crafting specs, and what you want to control and do with the items. And then on the Elven skill tree, there are things, that's another end game mechanism, or should I say mid game, that, you know, maybe you can roll double damage in one of the rolls, or maybe you can roll an upgrade that doesn't use a spec. And all of a sudden you can make these really powerful items. And again, that's just the beginning. It's just to give our thought process into it. There's a lot of things that can... we can build upon this system for the crafting, but the goal is still to make items exciting and to make the crafting system exciting. It's a little bit cumbersome. There's quality of life aspects that are coming to it right now in a good way to sort your inventory, to see what has the stats you're looking for, maybe even expose everything you can alter, and then with mouse over you can see your options. Just ways for players to easily not go over through everything in the inventory. But overall it's a fun, simple system that really ties well to the game.
Also, Frosty, what took me a long time in this game is that even a white item sometimes has value, which is so like, you know, in the ARPG brain, it's like you don't even pick it up, you don't even look at it. But if you had an item with high crafting, high item level, you might be able to craft it, hit exactly the 4 affixes you want, and then you could take that item once it has its full craft on it over to the throne right here, and now you can actually add the modifier that I showed you. So you can also, like, just like in D4, you go to whatever who the hell's the person that adds legendary aspects, and you go to that person. Yeah. And you can actually throw on the exact modifier you want. There's 150 modifiers from what they're telling me in chat. You do have to find them and unlock them by completing ruptures, but like you could truly make like the perfect gear.
Okay.
And
I got one more question. Sorry, go on.
And then what Crater is talking about is this is the newest progression system in the game. And this is the Elven points. This one is like, I just always go to the right because it just gives damage. I know people go to the bottom for crafting, but ultimately you can take your unused crafting materials and you can give them to this guy who gives you Elven faction that you can then turn in for more progression.
Oh, I like that. Nice.
So, I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of cultists. Yeah, there's a lot of different systems. Sorry, go on, Frosty.
Oh, yeah. One more thing about character building, I think we should go over a little bit more. Is we went over the weapons, the crafting, the cards, actual abilities. You're showing me Frost Wolves. You said those are offhands, and or for me, I have this poison thing. It goes on the floor. It's like a poison arcane
toxicity.
Move.
Yeah.
I got it real early on. How do people get new abilities? And later in the game, are there more powerful abilities you don't see in the beginning game?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about. I mean, Aaron, you can explain, how it works. I can talk a little bit about.
It's your podcast. I don't want to explain. You explain it.
Yeah, I want to share like the philosophical thinking behind it. Essentially, it was an easy way for us to give the player a build. So when you get 3 of the same offense,
I will go to the end at like Rupture 10 and show them what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, but when you get a trinket, a horn, and a goblet, then these 3 together become a build. it's always been a little bit underwhelming for us. It's something we've always wanted to do better and more. At some point, we've added a belt because we wanted someone to choose and combine skills, and we made it so it has to be different than the goblet, but it really didn't solve our problem. Still people would use the three of the same, but would use the belt, whatever belt gave the biggest buff, because some of these offense actually give a buff, and tied it together. What we've done lately is went over all of these offense, all of these abilities, and made it so each one of them, when it turns into purple, gives you another mod on that ability, so it changes it to some extent. For example, with these wolves, they can hop a little bit more, or they can do more damage based on each hop. But we made it so you can add the belt, and on a weapon, one of these modifiers, and all these modifiers would stack endlessly. So if you have 7 or 8 or 9 I don't know, spinning dragons around you, it will still continue to grow.
And Frosty, it's when you find a skill, it is common. You can upgrade it to blue, which I believe is rare, or magic. Then you can upgrade it to yellow, which is rare. And then you could upgrade it to purple, which is mythical, something like the epic. And once it's purple, it gets that final upgrade. You get to pick the modifier if you're crafting it. If it falls on the ground purple, you can't do anything. It's just trapped that way.
Yep. So Frosty, for you, once you get the 3 offense, all of them toxicity, and you would upgrade them to purple, you'd be able to choose one of the modifiers. I think for toxicity, you could say it lasts longer. And then if you do it on all 3, then it will last very, very long. And you'll see all of the screen with toxicity. And one of the special skills of toxicity, it actually stays longer than any other skill in the game.
I think
so
toxicity, the 2 modifiers are size and duration.
Again, there's more than 3 now. There's 4 or 5, potentially 6. So people are now coming up with these new combinations. But there's still new modifier that we're planning to release soon that will help you merge different offense together. For example, imagine a modifier that says gain 500% bonus if you use 3 different totems or something like that, just as an example. So there's more things we want to do there. And also with the new texts that you have, these Q&Rs that are really cool, there are people that really just want to do that and not use offense at all. So we are thinking ways of adding modifiers to break the Q&R to allow players to play just with your text and not have everything scale off just the offhand damage. It's part of the challenges we have with the game now.
I have to slow you down. Did you just say we're going to be able to combine offhands? Is that what you just said?
That is one of our goals, yes. That at some point you don't just pick, 5 of the same offhand, is that they'll have... There's going to be categorization for them. Imagine dragons, and then electric dragons, flame dragons, blood dragons, anything that's a dragon go there. And then a totems, and everything that's a totems. And then maybe think of like summons, like the wolves and the Zelkor mages. And then we can have really interesting modes and these categories that affects the entire categories and build off that really... Again, we don't have builds in mind. The way we treat builds is more of... we're treating Dwarven Realms as more of a platform with many modes that player will figure out what to do with. More of like the PoE approach rather than the D4 at launch approach. So I don't know exactly what players will do with these modifiers, but the way we're thinking about it is, yes, that you'll be able to mix and match and do some cool things and actually do more damage with those cool combinations.
Yeah, I like that. D4 at launch, I don't know if you could really compare. That was just like Fireball that does 5% more damage or 5% more attack speed. That was its crazy modifier. So this I like a lot better, I will say.
But the game, explaining it to you, Frosty, there's a lot more depth than you probably noticed when you first started playing, right?
Yeah. Oh, I just scratched the surface. And considering you saying how big seasons are going to change the game, just one season could be like coming up could be combining all of your offhands into like what you were just saying, like electric dragons or fire dragons or something like that, plus whatever else you add to the game.
Because then, and then those are just the different systems. Then you have to learn Catacombs and Gravedigger's Cove and Catacombs Level 2 and all the secrets in there and how to upgrade your pet and Underground Enclave. And there's and Bridge. There's just like lots of, it's not just Ruptures. There's lots of other things you do while you're playing. Ruptures are just like the core gameplay. The core gameplay. Yeah, so I'm going to comment on what you said. I think what my number one problem isn't the right word. My number one ask is basically exactly what you said. It's, to me, unfortunate that there's so many skills and so many fun ways to play, but the way you have to play is stacking the same skill. I was actually really hoping that there would be a modifier that's added to gear where you get a huge bonus to your damage based upon how many different skills you use, because then it allows for so much build diversity. Mm-hmm. Where right now, Frosty, like, since I'm Ferocity Wolves, I want 4 Ferocity Wolves skills, so I'm a Ferocity Wolves build.
Instead those of 3 on the bottom are all Ferocity Wolves, and then what would be the 4th?
And then the belt would be the 4th, and it would be also Ferocity Wolves, because you can now match it. So it's, instead of I have a Lightning Wolf, and I have a Lightning Totem, and I have a Lightning Dragon, and I have Chain Lightning, and now I've got 4 different lightning abilities that are all proccing and working together. Like that would be like, in my opinion, it would be more complicated for sure, because now it's like, what 4 skills do I want? But
I might be playing wrong because I'm doing it that way. I have like 3
that's
different
how I was playing it too.
I know, and I'm just like, this seems really cool that I have like a puddle of arcane magic, these like arcane beams popping up and shooting stuff. And
well,
then,
I'm gonna show you right now. I'm on the right Rupture now, but
yeah, I do want to say, Frosty, that's something I hear a lot. There's no really wrong way to play it. As long as you slay the mobs, you see there's chaotic stuff on the screen happening, you progress in Rupture, you're doing it right. Yeah, at some point you'll get stuck, and then maybe you'll upgrade all of them to purple, and then move forward. And at some point you'll see, hey, I really want to push higher in the Rupture. Then you will understand that the 3 of them give crazy bonuses together, or
because they modify on top, or they multiply. Yeah, they stack.
Yeah, it's like for anyone who's playing Diablo 4 right now, if you come in, about the Lightning Spear Sorcerer, it'd be like, I'm playing Lightning Spear plus Hydra plus Frozen Orb, and I'm like, I'm doing everything and it's cool, but everyone knows you got to focus on the one thing, which is the Lightning Spear right now. So what you're saying is you got to focus on the one thing if you want to get to that very end.
So let me show you this. This is what they did recently to really help new players, in my opinion. So right now I just beat Rupture 14, which is around where you're at, Frosty. And when you come to the rewards at the end here, it's going to give you 1 trinket, 1 horn, and 1 goblet. And every once in a while you'll get a higher rarity, like this one you'll notice for lightning is blue, but they're going to be all the same. So right now, the blue lightning offer is Ferocity Wolves, Ferocity Wolves, Ferocity Wolves. So now, if you look at my gear, I could go in, and I've got 3 of the exact same skill to then pop down in here, and then through upgrading, I can get them to purple, and then pick exactly what modifier I want. So you've already had that option to get 3 of the same skill on every Rupture you go to.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I usually always pick Arcane, and I think I have like a goblet, I don't know, the horn and the other thing, all of the same skill. So I got to try that out next time I'm on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frosty, no wrong way to play it.
Yes.
Have fun with it. Really,
Okay.
It's
wait,
not
one more question on the abilities here. I notice it's like arcane, lightning, or fire.
Correct.
Have you considered a frost magic?
Good question. Yeah,
That is a good question. Why is there no cold?
I think a lot of it was At the time, we made a lot of decision to move forward. We just went with the 3 that we had the most abilities and even categorized them together. But there is a plan for ice, for poison, for a few of the other cool elementals out there. So definitely plans in the that's not for the it's more for the distant future, but first we want to go through and make the attacks cooler, the QNRs that people choose from, and have more diversity for those attack that will balance well with the. And by the way, there we can definitely do frost stuff as well once we work on the attacks. So
Nice.
Frosty, we're like so over in time. I'm gonna show you one more thing, and then we're gonna push forward.
Oh yeah.
This is the leaderboard. So you have the normal leaderboard. This is basically you're playing yourself. Okay. Then you have the fellowship. You're in a guild clan. And then you have hardcore. And then fellowship hardcore. So you have 4 different leaderboards based upon how you're playing. It's really cool. It'll show your rank. And right now I'm ranked 13. The rank of the person, their name. It'll show you what weapon they're using, and then it'll show you what they've beat. So every time you complete, so when I talked about outside of ruptures, Frosty, look how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This person has completed 13 different objectives outside. This person's completed 14 outside of ruptures. So there's like a lot of things to complete, and you can do, and it'll tell you the level, and it'll tell you the rupture that they've completed.
Cool. Nice. Lots to do.
All right. Hot seat.
that doesn't sound good.
No, it's fun. It's fun. All right, Crater, you are officially between 2 portals. Now, this is the rapid fire question. This is the 3rd part of the Town Portal podcast. Sometimes more serious, sometimes more silly. Frosty, you could start it off.
All right. So, yeah, these are short answer questions. What is your favorite food?
I love Middle Eastern. I'd say hummus and kebabs, probably.
Nice.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate Diablo 4?
God, don't ask me that. It's an okay game. I'll give it a 7.
Okay.
Teen. Got it. Okay. When's the last time you shaved your beard?
I trimmed it, I think, a couple of
Fully
weeks ago.
shaven. When were you just naked?
Razor to face.
I don't remember the last time, but I can tell you that September 27th, I'm going to shave it completely.
Really?
For the big release, yes.
Because you're going to be a streamer now.
I see.
Shaved face.
I didn't say that, but I don't mind streaming. Maybe I'll try it. This is kind of fun, actually.
You having a good time? Good. What kind of car do you drive?
An Audi Q5.
Oh, wow.
That's a nice car. Do you get all the in-game cosmetics for free?
I do. And I actually give away a lot of them to people that are nice on the internet. Yes.
Oh, nice. Well, hear that, people. Go be nice on the internet. That's new for a lot of you guys.
As long as you're not toxic, you get skins. Yeah.
Would you say that Dwarven Realms is pay to win?
Dwarven Realm is absolutely not pay to win. Never has been and never will be. I hate pay to win.
Okay.
Now, a really good launch publicity stunt that might really get the name of Dwarven Wells out there is put Diablo in Dwarven Realms before Diablo 4 does it.
That is not a bad idea.
Oh my gosh, do I have the Diablo skin? Hold on a second. Ask another
you
question
look for
while I'm
that.
looking something
All right.
up.
What is, in your opinion, the most overpowered build currently and in the upcoming season 1?
I can't say that because then all the players will go and do it.
Okay. You don't have to answer the questions.
Wait, Frosty, you are going to
Yes.
die. Hold on a second. Extra
Oh,
screen,
no.
we're going back.
That's such an old skin.
Huh? Does that
Wow, look at
count?
that. That counts. It's almost you just gotta add a boss into the game and then just like have like
I
Kotaku
need
pick
better
up like an
light. Does that
article.
count? This
That
is an-
kind of counts. You need to have a boss speed Diablo though.
Okay, that's the best we got. That's
It
kind of I
doesn't
make that joke
really
all the
count,
time because you bring it up. I say that Diablo's in Dwarven Realms, but okay. Sorry, back to the hot seat.
Yeah, so eventually when co-op does come to Dwarven Realms, do you plan on making it so we load everyone else's inventory tabs to really bog down your server? Or are you just gonna have it where we don't load everyone else's inventory tabs, like some kind of like noob game?
I really can't share much about multiplayer. It's all very, very early on. But
Okay.
I can promise you we're gonna do it. No, I don't want to say what I was gonna say.
It's okay. It's allegedly promise.
This question is for the Dwarven Realms current community, and you cannot cop out on this answer. If you were in a fight and you had to pick between Ghost or Dreythus, who would you take on your side?
Ghost any day.
Oh,
right.
I love that.
Sorry, Drysus. Sorry.
So now that you're a professional streamer, when can we expect your first hot tub stream?
I want Bebo to do a hot tub karaoke stream on the day of the launch, so I'm still trying to convince him to do that. If he does that, maybe I'll follow his lead, but he's the streamer out of both of us.
Okay. Who is the voice in the Ruptures? Like the like, come here and challenge my that. Where did that voice come from?
So yeah, there's two sorts of voices. One is it actually came from Fiverr. We just found a really cool actor called Johnny that did most of the voice acting there.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the new, I don't know if you've seen him, Aaron, if you have tutorials, but there's the new Orin guy, and he's a sound designer that's helping us unofficially with the team that's doing a lot of the sound design. He's doing all the voiceover for Orin, which is very impressive. He'll probably do more of those as well.
Okay.
And there's another famous streamer that's involved with the studio that might do some voiceover. I spoke with him today for a mob, but I don't know if I can share that yet. It's very early. I
Okay.
hope it comes to fruition.
Okay, that's cool. So I find Johnny from Fiverr. I can just get him to say a bunch of words and just
Now
be
we
like,
know.
"This is in the game."
He'll be happy to. Very cool guy.
Nice. Yeah, so I had a poll out seeing what people want from the game, what features they want the most. And believe it or not, the most requested feature is a boob slider. Will that be coming to the game?
That will most definitely not be coming to the game. No.
Okay.
That was only Frosty. You were the only one that voted in that poll, so I don't know what you're talking
There wasn't even a
about.
poll. There wasn't even a poll.
Crater, any chance to have a customizable castle? So obviously, I know the castle is new; it's the location. But is there any plans to ever be able to make it your own? Obviously, the idea is like hideout and PoE.
Yeah, so there was two elements to it. There was an old home fort that actually had survival features where you can build the walls just like you would in Ark Survival Evolved and place them around. You would actually use some resources and trees. But I do think we are maybe going to offer at some point, not for launch, maybe a version that you see when you want to upgrade them in town, where you speak to that Apexius Sand Golem, maybe that version where you can place your stations and you can control it. And it's also not far-fetched now that we switched from the old snow home fort to the new castle home fort, buying skins or MTX for how your castle would look, and then you can maybe choose your own space. Maybe it even looks like the Ruptures to some extent, and we can do a spin off that, and you can buy your own home fort, and then you'll be able to place the NPCs. Again, to be honest, it's not that far-fetched for us. It's not really hard the way we've built it, and Bebo can obviously talk more to
Yeah.
the infrastructure, but definitely built modular in a way that we can do those things in the future.
Oh, that is awesome.
I got one more question here. I kind of ran through mine pretty quick. So I know we're about to maybe ruin your 90% positive rating on Steam, but in one word, can you explain why this game is better than Path of Exile?
I have to say I really love Path of Exile. I don't have
Oh, good. That was good to
bad
start
words
with.
to say about them. They're doing really good works. I actually chatted sometimes casually in the past with Chris Wilson, really awesome guy. I'm a fan of what they're doing. I think Dwarven Realms, on a more serious note, Dwarven Realm is a good place to start if you want to enter ARPGs. Path of Exile is very overwhelming. You know, you need to learn a lot of system. You need to catch up on 10 years of content to have a chance to get into it. Dwarven Realms can be a really great stepping stone to learn crafting, to learn builds, to learn action RPGs. So for people that maybe are a bit scared of those games, I'd say Dwarven Realm is really a great place to start.
There you go.
So Path of Exile sucks. Got it. It's just what I heard. All right.
Only a Diablo 4 superfan would say that, Frosty.
Diablo 4 is the best.
Vessels of
complicated.
hatred. Crater, you officially survived being between two portals. See, it wasn't even that bad. I had a whole bunch of horrible questions, but I'm not going to hit you with him. Going back to the main page, everybody, this will be the final part section of today's podcast. We are officially moving into community Q&A. So if you have a question for Mr. Crater, now is the time. There, now we're back on our home screen. I already saw one question come through. Crater, what do you think is the current best build in the game? So someone that's like, I want the meta for the 27th. What should I play?
I actually think we've added so many mods that it's impossible to tell. You know, with the previous mod that we've had, and we had like 30 to 40 mods for now, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months. It took, I think, Konmura, which is one of the top players and a dedicated streamer of the game, maybe one of the folks that are inventing the meta, took him to build his deck stacking, what do they call it? There's a name for it, the community has it, for his build that's optimizing everything towards them. It took him a month to come up with that. So with all the new modifiers, no one knows. I do think that stacking energy, there's a mod that gives you for each energy above 100 extra damage, and now there's a mod that says double the energy, and folks can roll energy on weapons. That's one of the very most powerful mods out there, so people build off that damage.
So right now you can get one mod per rupture complete. Does that mean 150 ruptures to get all the mods? Is it the same way of acquiring them?
The way to unlock these recipes so you can craft them is by completing ruptures right now. But the more mods we introduce, we also want to introduce more systems for players to unlock them so they can reach their builds quicker. So maybe like, you know, imagine a monogram box that opens in a rupture where you can choose between 5 of the mods, for example.
Yes, because in my head I immediately go to, okay, so if I want an energy stacking mod and I have a 1 in 150 to get it, right? I mean, it could, you know, it could take forever.
Yeah, this is probably a long answer, and I don't want to get into the philosophy and the strategies here, but think of it, how quickly do you want someone to have his end build when they're starting to play an RPG? And you can say an hour, a day, a week, you know, it's up to you to decide how, and it really depends on how deep you want to go into that build.
I think you should have a decent chance, whether that's 1 in 5, 1 in 10, 1 in 20, after Rupture 35, like after the quote unquote campaign of the game. I don't know. Maybe that's that's off. Go on.
So Kaiser Soars 2077 asks, and I cannot believe you didn't ask this, Aaron. Have you played Last Epoch?
I know. I had so many Last Epoch questions. So I was like, no, then I'm just going to look like an LE shill, which I am. So, but
that's why I asked, you know.
I appreciate
Aaron
it.
Put me up to it. He texted.
I said, this is required.
I played a lot of Last Epoch throughout its life. So 5 or 6 years ago, I started playing it a little bit when I had more time, and I think I played it to the end game 4 years ago. It again, very different game. On launch, I did not have enough time. I made a few characters. Servers were breaking down on me. I didn't want to play offline, and I gave up at some point. But it's on my to-do to go back.
Okay. Can you ask why he chose Unreal Engine?
This one is hard because I can't really say. Bebo and I got into Unreal Engine 10, 15 years ago even. We fell in love with the engine. We've always loved it. I think for us, we've always known that we wanted to think of it as lightweight AAA games. So
Yeah.
a game that feels great and feels like a game, but definitely not like how, studios take 5 to 10 years and gigantic teams and hundreds of millions of dollars and go and develop them. But we definitely knew we didn't want more of a mobile Unity feel or anything like that. So we just fell in love with Unreal. And once you get the domain expertise and you get into the engine and then obviously you stick with that. It's much easier to get things done. But I'm a big fan of Epic Games. I'm a big fan of Unreal. I spent time working there. Really love that engine.
Nice.
Who's better looking, you or Bebo?
Wow. Good
And
question.
how many cats does Bebo have?
Bebo has, I don't even know by now. I think he has 3 cats by now. Yeah, they're collecting them. His fiance, sorry, now his wife, she has a soft spot for them. So if they would see one on the side of the road, then they would obviously take it and raise it. So that list keeps growing. But I think 3 or 4 now. Yeah. And then I'd say Bebo is probably better looking these days, unfortunately. I'm getting old and fat here, so yeah.
Is Chia a wolf or a fox? I think that Chia.
Of course it's a fox. What kind of question is it? Obviously a fox.
It's a fox.
Will there be crafting on orange items in the future?
There are a lot of plans for crafting. I can't say per feature because the way we do things at Creator Studios, we really look at problems or pains and what the players are trying to achieve, and then come up with creative solution for them. So if the problem is orange items are not exciting enough, or orange items don't make fun enough to make cool builds, then we would probably brainstorm really cool solutions to it rather than go with specific features. But definitely more features coming into making oranges more exciting.
I'm sure there's a reason why, but if you wanted to do like the most simple fix to oranges is you can swap the modifier on it. Just be like, because basically you can't pick the modifier. That's why it's better to craft up an item unless you somehow find one with the actual modifier on it.
Yeah, I think one of the things when it comes to these modifiers is obviously a feature that when you find a modifier on an orange item, maybe you can extract it and then it joins the pool. And that would make it way easier to get these mods. Again, it all comes down to what is the end goal? Do we want someone to have all of these modifiers and at what point in the game? And that's the balance where I can't say for sure, because even if we talk the 3 of us, Aaron, you might say, hey, it's supposed to be in 2 hours or in Rapture 35.
Yeah.
Frosty, maybe you would say it's, 10 hours in Rapture 40. So people would have different opinions, but we would find the right balance to make it fun for what we think for the game and hopefully for the community.
Well, I could tell you with 100% certainty that the ability to take the modifier off the item Frosty would like, because that's like the codex of breaking down items at the blacksmith right now. It stores the legendary aspect in Diablo 4. So if it feels like D4, I can tell you that Frosty would like it.
Yes, especially like the original D4. But Considering there's so much in the game, you said people don't even experience when they play. Is there any cool secrets or Easter eggs a lot of people might not know about? If you can like name one or two.
Wow. I think that there was a lot of old Easter eggs, like the places, the holes, tormented holes of the Gobble, or there is actually a level that was called There Is No Cow level, where you can
Nice.
get like a mount and things like that. We
Or the chicken
took a lot
mount.
of those.
The chicken mount, right? Is that still in the game?
Yeah, that was the Gobble holes. I think it was for last Thanksgiving. There's a few ones, new ones that are coming as well. Especially you'll see in the next version already. Most of the boss fights and the boss arenas, almost the entirety of the game is slowly changing to the new environments and to what our new level designer has been doing. And all of the old level designs was me actually doing them. That's why they look like shit. I don't have any environment artist design. It was just me placing things together. But then once everything is there, then we can start reintroducing a lot of these cool Easter eggs in ways that are way more fun, more compelling to the players to explore. Maybe a secret. You've already seen in the home fort that library that's switching. So more of these are coming to ruptures and boss fight that you will explore new cool Easter eggs. Yeah.
Xathius is asking, is it realistic for a potential 3-month season?
Yeah, I don't want to start with the solution. We usually like to start with a problem. And if the problem is, hey, the seasons are too short, I want to play season, but I have a full-time job and, I just can do it in 6 weeks or 7 weeks, then we would then do, our brainstorming and the ideas and how we fix that problem. And maybe some people, can take a character to the next season, even if it's 6 weeks, but it will stay with them for a different leaderboard or whatever, or something like that. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Yep.
But I can't, we can't really choose the right amount of time. For some people, 3 month could also be not enough. And for some people, it's way more than what they want. So, yeah.
Okay.
I got one more question here. What major change can people look forward to that are playing now that's going to be coming up on the 27th with the game launch?
Good question. It's one of the things we also struggled because we use, and the community knows this, we don't have a testing server or a testing client or PTR or like whatever other studios do or use. We test on production with the users. To a lot of people, it's really painful, but the people who are stuck with us, most of them either love it or tough love got used to it, and we appreciate that. It's very, very helpful. But to some extent, every day now, like, I don't know if you've seen Aaron just went through these desert ruptures. They were just released last patch, like 2 days ago. So we're releasing everything so quickly because we need the community's help in testing. So there's already, over the last 2 Chaos Weeks, so many new mechanics, infused cards that you can infuse beyond the infused. There's tons of new modifiers. There's tons of new boss fights. There's 2 new boss fights coming next Chaos Week. We do want to maybe save one of the cool systems, like progression system we have for the character, and another new boss fight for the big release. But I can't promise that we'll have the time to polish it. Even, we don't have like a crazy bar for polish, as a lot of you know. But even for us, like, we would like for the release to have it more stable, and I don't know if we can make it.
Raven has a question. I kind of feel like the game is an endless wave mode, but the question is, will there ever be an endless wave mode? And if so, will there be a leaderboard for endless? So maybe like no boss. So the waves just get harder and harder and harder and harder and stay alive as long as you can.
Yeah, there's again, I don't want to comment specifically on the endless wave boats, but we've tested something with the Shadow Forge that's happening 2 days, which was a different experiment of where there's like a raptures, mobs coming at you, and when you're done, they don't spawn. You go to the portal, you open the next section, and then you do it again, and it's a different experience than Rapture. It's just one of many experiments that we wanted to do in the Rapture mode, essentially. Endless waves. There's so many different things. Maybe a boss spawning at a rapture when you feel enough essence, just like you would see in Diablo 3 has those mechanics. There's
A butcher. They need a butcher, Frosty.
Oh yeah,
a random butcher. Yeah.
everyone loves the butcher. I like the idea of the butcher until they show up in your game and you're just like, oh, jeez.
So I think some kind of tower defense people have asked for. I know
Cool.
PoE has it. I had a great idea for a delve mechanic that can work really well, where you go and you can maybe choose the containers of the rewards and you work towards them. So there's so much we can do with the Rapture mechanic that's cool and innovative. But again, I don't not for lunch definitely, but all of these are things that's on our roadmap and on our radar. If you're really passionate about something, you can drop it in our game suggestions. They do help, and we do look at them. So yeah.
And I
Where
will
can they
have
when they can find that?
Yeah, I'll have all of Dwarven Realms socials in the description as well when this video goes up. But Crater, feel free if you want to talk about any of the socials for DR.
Yeah, I think most people know about them. Would be awesome if you want to join our Discord or follow us on any of our socials. That's mainly it.
Okay, so we're 20 minutes over time right now. I'm gonna hit you with the final question I see. And I'm reading this verbatim from Kaiser Soze. Why is DR more fun than Diablo 4?
Ah, jeez.
It's not my question. It's a community question. I'm just saying it's written. Why is DR more fun than D4? Pretty simple.
I'll even though I know this is half memeing and stuff, I do want to say, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. But more of Dwarven Realm was built by the community. A lot of these folks in chat have been with us since we went in early access almost 2 years ago, which was when we started developing the game. And because we took that very iterative approach of working with the community, I think all of us together were able to build something really, really fun, different, and unique. So the only thing I would say, if there's anyone that's ever, dreaming of building video games, if you're lucky enough to build a community like the one we have, that's how you do it.
Wow. I was gonna say you should give a final speech, but I think that is that's pretty darn good. Everybody, CraterMan, co-owner of Crater Studios, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This has been great. This has been awesome. And Frosty got to learn a lot about the game, so that's
It's very informative. I needed help with it, and now I know a lot more.
Now you're on top of it. Everybody, Dwarven Realms, 24 seasons in the books. 1.0 game launch season 1 coming September 27th. I will have a new community event that I will be announcing as we get closer to the 27th. It is my favorite $10 game on Steam, and I've been saying that for literally 8 straight seasons. Awesome development team, awesome studio, and the game is just a blast. And something that I am really taking from this podcast is something that Crater said, that in a current environment of copy and paste, and this feels like this, and this feels like this, and this is a ripoff of Vampire Survivors, or however you want to look at it, Dwarven Realms, whether you love it or hate it, think it's good or bad, you got to give them credit that it is definitely something unique. And I'm going to remember that from when I am streaming it and talking to people, because playing DR, it really is something that feels different. So I love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Frosty. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you very much for having me. This has been fun.
Hey, look, you weren't even nervous. You did great.
I never said I was nervous. No, I'm kidding. It's but it's been fun.
I know. Frosty, you get to take us away when you are ready.
All right.
Did you
All
prepare
right.
for this? Go ahead. Sorry.
I did. That's a wrap. Big shout out to CraterMan for dropping some serious knowledge. No cap, that was lit. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, stay vibing and keep grinding. We'll watch you on the next episode of we'll catch you on the next episode of Town Portal Podcast. Peace out. Aaron, just end it. Just end it.
Podcast, where the gamers unite, along with Aaron and Frosty. We're taking flight, food and level up, turn the quiet.